Look, I'll just admit, when I was a kid, my dad used to pass off orange pop, like orange Faygo is orange juice. He would just straight out lie to me and tell me that. I mean, that's hashtag how you knew you grew up without money. From Castalia at Sfumato in Detroit's beautiful Midtown, this is your Daily Detroit for October 27th, a wonderful Friday. I am Jer Stays, and since it's Friday, we can't miss...
Oh, sorry, Jer. I was just sniffing my cocktail here. It's Devon O'Reilly.
And this is a place where sniffing your cocktail and the accompaniment is more than welcome.
Absolutely. It comes with a nice little accompaniment of the fragrance that's going to give you kind of the essence of your cocktail. And then you, of course, have the cocktail itself. And I appreciate they have both alcoholic and non-alcoholic. I, of course, went for the bourbon and rye forward drink, which is basically like a fun and flavored pineapple and clove old-fashioned.
And if you hear a little bit of background noise, that's because we're here just before opening. So they're getting things ready before the crowds come into this place. And I've always enjoyed all of the pairings. I'm actually having a non-alcoholic drink, the Tyrant Slayer, because I feel like taking on the man.
You may feel like taking on the man. There's a lot of people right now in this area who are taking on the man and their beliefs. So hopefully, Jer, yours goes successful, and hopefully theirs does too. I'm just trying to be vague here, but I think we know what I'm talking about.
Where have you been? Because we haven't seen each other too much lately. Where have you been?
Well, gosh, Jer, I think we both, first of all, have been really grinding with work. This is for those who are not kind of in the same similar sphere as us. October is a huge event season. Mm-hmm. Everybody wants to throw an event before it gets wintry and before, the weather gets completely all over the place and horrible. So events have just been dominating my life, unfortunately. But I did find some time to have a little parents' night out in Detroit this past weekend. And I hadn't been to Ima Izakaya yet, which I'm sorry. I'm probably like, people are like, yeah, of course, Devin, where have you been? But it was the old Gold Cash Gold. I knew it existed. And I love the original Ima, like the noodle bowl kind of casual spot. But this is more like an Izakaya grill with like a wide variety of like sit-down dinner options, sake, cocktails, the whole shebang. Fantastic date night spot.
Yeah, I've heard so many good things about it. And I will admit, I've had Ima as like carry out and stuff, but I actually have not sat down. So the two of us are both in the behind the ball category. But the food is amazing. I know that for a fact.
Yeah, and a great variety. Everything from sushi hand rolls to skewers. Like I said, the cocktail menu is quite extensive for a place that's not really a cocktail bar, and a really, really strong sake menu, of course. It was Saturday. Michigan was playing Michigan State. So I popped into what I have known for a while now, and I don't know if it's widely known yet, but McShane's in Corktown on Michigan Avenue is the official Michigan bar in Detroit, U of M. So if you are a U of M fan, U of M grad, you want to catch a game, you should go to McShane's because the atmosphere is incredible. It's packed. They turn all the TVs onto the Michigan game. They get the sound on. You get that immersive atmosphere. They're cheering for Michigan. So not for everybody, but if you are a go blue type of person, in case you didn't know, McShane's is the place to catch those games.
I know we have a lot of Michigan listeners, but listeners that went to other colleges, actually, why don't you email dailydetroit@gmail.com? I'd actually like to know what the other bars are. I think they'd actually be useful for a lot of people.
I love it. In other big cities, something you've probably experienced too, Jerry. You go to like a Chicago, you go to like a New York. There's like all these Big Ten bars. Like there's the Notre Dame bar, there's the Ohio State bar, there's the Michigan State bar, Wisconsin bar. Other cities have that. Detroit kind of doesn't, but I feel like there is those small pockets of people. So we're not them, but I'd love to hear from people. Where is the blank your college bar in Detroit? And how about you, Jerry? Where have you been?
I went to press night at the Fisher Theater for, of all things, Company.
You're going to have to educate me.
Okay, Company is a Stephen Sondheim musical. It's a concept musical. So it's a musical that maybe doesn't have a plot per se, but a series of vignettes that are more thought-provoking. This is from the early 1970s, and it follows a 35-year-old kind of reevaluating their life choices, their friends that are married, friends about to get married. It's a classic musical, and what's interesting about this revival, as opposed to some others, is they gender flipped the main protagonist or the main character. So that main character went from being a male to a female, and they rewrote it to an extent and modernized it. So it's a very interesting play, and very interesting musical. Lots of, emotion to it, reviewing your life, that kind of thing, set in New York. It's a Sondheim classic, but I will warn you, if you have watched older versions, you can actually see a version of it on YouTube with Neil Patrick Harris and Stephen Colbert at the New York Philharmonic. It will be a different production than that, still good, but a different production, a different feel because you're taking that lead from a 35-year-old male to a 35-year-old female.
Sure. Well, I feel like such a rube not being aware of this. And I'll ask another kind of layman question. Are the songs kind of all original to this production, or are there some kind of covers or songs that we might be familiar with?
Oh, it's all original.
Okay.
The artistry of him is pretty amazing. There are some swap outs. Every revival makes some changes, whether it's where songs are in the lineup. The other thing I'll mention is if you go, the snacks are amazing. There's in fact charcuterie from Monger's Provisions that you can get. So you can have charcuterie in the theater, which is pretty great. But buckle up. This one actually has an intermission, and it's more than 2 hours long. So just like be ready for a full night out at the Fisher.
Okay, well, you make a night of it. And Jared, this is why I think people listen, is we've got sports bars and Michigan playing Michigan State and where you can go for that. And we have delightful musicals and, 3-hour productions of The Fisher that I'm sure are equally as enjoyable.
You can find whatever you're into in this town. I think that's kind of what's special about it.
We are a cornucopia of delights.
Let's get into some stories around town. First up, there is word that the incentive package is public when it comes to the Henry Ford development and all the things happening with Michigan State and that whole apartments and everything else. And the numbers in it are a little bit surprising because it's actually a pretty low percentage. Like something like only 9% of the project is incentives. And for comparison, the other projects you normally see are like in the 30% or more range, or District Detroit, which starts knocking on 50% of the project costs and incentives.
Exactly. I think, again, we always talk development here. I hope that we can kind of be a space where people who aren't familiar can get a little more familiar. You and I are not development experts, but just to level set for people here, we have this project taking place. You've got MSU involved, you've got Henry Ford Health System, and you have Tom Gores. These are deep pockets, especially the cases of Henry Ford Health Systems and Michigan State, big institutions that have a lot of money that can get things done and can move the ball on things, no pun intended. This is one where, like you said, Jerry, it's important to note that they're building a lot of affordable rate apartments as part of this development. They are asking for public dollars, but much, much less. We're talking, when we talk to Illich's and the Gilbert stuff, 30, 40, plus even 50% of the project is being asked for as public dollars. They're only asking for 9.3 to 9.5% being publicly funded through various tax incentives, tax abatements, things like that. Again, I want to stress, as we always say, these incentives do not get acquired or fully realized unless the project actually gets built and comes to fruition.
Yeah, this is not a check. And as I understand it, the Henry Ford Hospital portion is not getting any incentives. That's kind of free and clear of that. It's the non-hospital projects that are getting incentives. There is the joint Henry Ford Health and MSU Research building. I think it's going to be north of 400 apartments. They're converting that Henry Ford Health headquarters building right near Tech Town over there into apartments. They're going to be building some new stuff from the ground up. This is honestly pretty exciting to say. I mean,
it's not downtown. This is really cool. It's, this is the new center. I mean, people call it new center area. I think this is like Eds and Meds is a term that gets thrown around in economic development as like a place, an area where you kind of spur growth. This is the Eds and Meds cluster. And so this is really cool. It's in the neighborhood. It's close to Claremont and 14th where the uprising started. I mean, we're really close to some like really historic Detroit areas. We are not downtown at this point.
And I think the last point on this incentive project, although there will be stuff with the city and there's going to take a lot of layers of approval, which is kind of good because we're going to get to know more details of this project through these public hearings and layers. The vast majority of the incentives with this one are actually going to be statewide and for brownfield development, which is very common in the city of Detroit and other urban areas where you have to do some sort of transformational or brownfield work.
Yeah, I mean, again, we're getting into the weeds, but I think it is helpful for people to understand that some of these properties need a ton of remediation. They need a ton of just prepping the soil when you're going from like a completely different type of development to something completely new, especially if it's medical related. There's a ton of work and dollars that needs to go into that. And so these programs really help that, these tax incentive programs that the state provides. They're really helpful to make projects like this go. Hey, look, I'm the cockeyed optimist here, Jer. I think this is a no-brainer. I think this is a worthy project, these incentives, and I have all the confidence in the world that these three entities put together, we're talking about entities with billions of dollars, are going to see this through. So I think this will get done, and it'll probably get done on schedule, frankly.
Really? That's a bold claim, Cotton.
I think so. I think there's less red tape. You've got the hospital system who owns the properties. You've got MSU and you've got Gores. I mean, geez, you got all the right people at the table. I think they can make it go. So I'm really excited for this.
It'll be good too to see so many people into that area when you're talking about adding literally hundreds of people. Now, a lot of the units are going to be studios and one bedrooms because I feel like a lot of these are targeted at some of the new students that are going to be in there and everything. So it'll be interesting and exciting to watch. But Devin, can we stop talking about business? Because there's a lot of fun to talk about.
Now that I've had a few sips of this walk in faith drink, I'm ready to walk in faith with you into some fun stuff.
You're going to get exactly what you want in Corktown. I got this press release, and sir, hurrahs at the Perennial.
Hurrahs! Hurrah for hurrahs. I'm so glad. I've extolled the virtues of Yemeni coffee several times in this podcast. I'm so excited that we are going to get one in Detroit. I mean, I'm lucky enough to have one in my own neck of the woods in Dearborn, but it's going to be so cool to have it in Corktown as well, simply down Michigan Avenue, basically. So those Corktown hipsters, whatever's left of them, will get to enjoy some real coffee for the first time, perhaps, if all they've been drinking is some of the regular kind of third wave stuff.
Do you remember the fizz fight?
Do I ever?
It's still one of our most downloaded episodes because people are very much into a fizz fight of seltzered cocktails.
And the seltzer season of life has not ended for many people. It's kind of ended for me. I think I'm over seltzer for the most part, especially in this time of year. But I guess seltzer is still kind of going strong. But what do we got on the seltzer horizon here?
Not only a seltzer, but a water cocktail. So vodka water and a Highline vodka cocktail from this place called Vosa or Vosa Spirits. And the reason I'm mentioning it is I got this press thing, right? And I'm like, wait a second, Detroit. I go look up the information. This company is based in Detroit doing this stuff. And guess who has bought into it? I'll give you a couple of guesses for who's bought into it to give this some monetary fuel for yet another celebrity branded cocktail line. I'll give you 3 guesses.
Boy. Well, if you're asking about Detroit stuff, I'm going to say Eminem.
Do you think that Eminem would ever buy into?
Smart businessman. I don't know what to say. Clearly, that's the wrong answer. Okay, let's go with athletics. Miguel Cabrera.
Kind of close in a way.
Okay. All right. Well, those are my 2 guesses. If I'm getting to athletics, I don't know who else would be. Maybe a Red Wing or something? I don't know. Give it to me. Okay. Cade Cunningham. Kate is behind all sorts of interesting. He's taking all the sponsorship dollars.
So I'm going to say baseball, kind of close, because Kate Upton, the wife of Justin Verlander, the former Detroit Tiger, has bought in a stake into this brand, and it is all over social media. And I got this whole press kit. Actually, I'm going to have to, it's actually already available at a bunch of places around town, so we're going to have to do a tasting. And I wonder, I mean, it's a crazy thought, but I wonder if we get Kate on the show.
Yeah, that's kind of a zag. I wasn't expecting that. I mean, Kate kind of has connection to Detroit, but Justin hasn't played here in a long time.
But she does have a connection to Michigan because her dad is the uncle.
Her uncle is Fred Upton from St. Joseph, and Kate was born in St. Joseph, grew up in Melbourne, Florida. Don't worry about why I know this. It's not important. 27.
Are you willing to share your favorite housewife of New York?
Oh, Aaron's the best housewife. Don't put a microphone in my face and start asking me about housewives. I'm gonna unlock a whole different area of conversation. But 27-year-old Devin would have been very, very into this idea of Kate Upton supporting a beverage here in Detroit. We don't hear much from Kate Upton these days. I don't know if she's still around. Certainly not in Detroit. I mean
maybe
in Houston with Justin.
Well, look, we had a Kardashian in town recently, so I feel like this just kind of follows up.
I mean, Kate might show. You used to be able to go to the games and see her. I mean, she was like the Taylor Swift of Detroit. You'd go to those Tigers games and you could see her up in the press box. I mean, clearly it's a lower level than a Taylor Swift type of sighting, but she was pretty big here for a while. So her name recognition might be able to move the needle a little bit. So that's pretty cool. I'll give it a try.
Yeah. When I saw the dateline, so in press materials, they share the dateline of where this is from. It said Detroit. I was like, that's interesting because I hadn't heard of this brand. And then I did some more research. It's like, oh, the company is based in Detroit. Like it just following along. It was even in like Crunchbase or something, like one of those like you're getting VC money stuff. So it'll be interesting to see what they do and how they stand out in what I feel like is a pretty crowded market.
Well, it sounds like no fizz. First of all, you just told me.
One's no fizz.
Oh, one's no fizz. Okay. So there will be fizz.
No fizz.
Well, okay. It's going to be, God, it's so tough to stand out in the seltzer market. It's so tough, Jer.
There is a peach Highline and a Highline vodka. So, that'll be interesting. I feel like Highline's kind of named after the New York.
We don't have any Highlines here unless you're talking about like the electrical lines or something. Don't touch the high lines. They're dangerous.
One more drink thing to share with you.
All right. What do you got, Jer?
I'm going to share this with you because I know that you're probably not going to try it. I'm going to have to draft engineer Randy or Cheyenne. There is now a new Faygo flavor. I know how you get excited about these. I see you're literally nodding your head. And is this because you just like the classics? You're nodding your head here?
As an adult, I don't see the relevance of pop in my life. Maybe as a treat, but with the amount of like sugar and calories and artificial flavors, and I don't want to sound like that person, but I got no love for pop these days. I'm sorry. Unless it's like a dessert or something. But, I'm going to drink my calories. I'd rather have a Two-Hearted if I'm going to drink 200 calories.
Okay, this is Faygo Dreamin' Orange Cream flavor.
Oh, think you just got me going there, Jer. Let me have another sip of my drink.
I love orange pop. I mean, look, I'll just admit, when I was a kid, my dad used to pass off orange pop, like orange Faygo as orange juice. He would just straight out lie to me and tell me that. I mean, that's hashtag how you knew you grew up without money.
I was going to say, or that's so Detroit. Of passing out. Like, this is basically our orange juice. It basically might as well be orange juice. And I do love orange pop in the right scenario, and I did love orange pop. So that sounds good, but like orange cream sounds, it's like orange pop was already sweet enough. Is this going to be like even heavier and sweeter than orange pop? Because then I might be out.
I wonder if it'll be lighter. I mean, that's what they say in the description here. Okay. Caffeine free. I put this into the Slack, and Engineer Randy was all like, why isn't there a diet option? I really think, I agree. Everything should have a diet or a non-sugar option for more regular consumption nowadays, if that's how you choose to go.
Yeah, I totally agree. Now, of course, the question, Jerry, obviously, is, well, what would be a good mixer? And I haven't come up with that yet.
Vodka, obviously. Like, obviously, vodka's the...
I mean, it is. I'm sure it's vodka, but I feel like with the orange flavor, you might be able to pick up something in a gin, like a flavored gin with a citrus in a gin.
Well, these things are so sweet that you can almost use them as a syrup, right? Just remember like the fireworks pop, and we made a really good cocktail, but we basically use it as a syrup.
You could boil this down into a simple syrup. That's what you're going to do with it.
Okay. Okay, we might have to try this. We might have to put Engineer Randy to work on that. With that, I think we're done for today, Devon O'Reilly.
Well, that was fun, Jer, like you said, and educational, as we try and be.
Thank you so much to Castalia at Sfumato for hosting us. Make sure to check them out. Great cocktails, alcoholic, non-alcoholic, all the things.
And fantastic atmosphere. You're not going to beat like the coziness, the intimacy of this space. I talked about date nights and like, if you're going to get a babysitter, you're going to go out for a date night, or you're not going to get a babysitter because you don't have a baby, but you want to go out for a date night. A place like this really makes it kind of feel like it's a kind of a special date night. So
I feel like it's a small slice of a big city.
Well, because again, we're like garden level, so I feel like you're in like New York or Boston or something, which is really cool.
All right. As always, thank you so much for listening. I'm Jer Stays.
I'm Devon O'Reilly.
Remember that you are somebody, and we'll see you around Detroit.